Hello, this is Gail, and I am really excited to have Tiffany on with me today. This is actually the last official interview for the Entrepreneur Hotline, and the that we've been doing all week long for Global Entrepreneurship Week. And I've had some really incredible people on, and my co-hosts Lori Webb and Colin Scotland have had some incredible people as well. So I hope you've had an opportunity to watch their interviews. And if you are hanging out and watching this on a replay, thank you so much for taking the time to do it. And I'm going to go ahead and bring Tiffany on so that we can get started. Hello.
Oh, how are you? Can you hear me?
Oh boy. Sound would be good.
Sound. Can you hear me? No?
Is it me? Oh boy. Okay, if you're watching, I can see two people watching.
Okay. Can you hear me?
No, not yet.
No?
I can't hear you. Can you hear? Obviously, you can hear me. All right, so this is live streaming, everyone. Give us a minute while we get ourselves sorted. Let's see. What can we talk about? So,
Hear me now?
no. No. Do you want to go out and come back in and see if that works?
Okay.
If you're watching, can you hear Tiffany? Let's start there.
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you at all. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Can you hear me now?
Oh my goodness. Nope.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Let's see.
So while we figure out sound on you can hear Colin? Oh my gosh. Okay, maybe it's me. All right. Tiffany, you talk and I'll see if it's me.
So everyone can hear me, correct?
Okay.
Let's see. I don't know why Gail can't hear me.
Oh, this is gonna be fun. I don't know.
Okay. Everyone give us 2 seconds.
If it's coming out fine on your end, Tiffany, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are and what you do and who you support. And I will figure out a way that I can hear you. Okay? So why don't you do that and I will come right back. Okay?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I am Tiffany Lanier. I am a keynote speaker, clarity strategist, and the founder of the Morning Shift Company, a personal growth and well-being company to help you prioritize space for your becoming through consciously crafting a morning practice. I support leaders, entrepreneurs, high-achieving individuals who are on a mission and help them create the mental and emotional sustainability to do what they are here to do on this earth. So that is a little bit about me. I hope that you can hear me. I'm not sure why it's not working. I'm looking at the settings and it seems like my mic is being picked up. So hopefully Gail will be able to hear us momentarily. So, hey, how's everyone doing? I guess if you are here live with me and you can actively hear me, maybe let me know in the chat. Okay, I see the live comments. I can hear and see fine. Okay, Colin, thanks. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is or what's going on, but I have my mic set up. So thanks everyone for being here. We're just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen next. I don't know if you have any questions. We haven't even really began this conversation, so you probably don't have any questions, but I don't want to say too much because I want to be present for the interview and for the discussion. So we're just kind of have to kind of wait it out a moment and see what's going on. But this is ultimately live streaming at its best because you really never know what's going to happen. It's kind of a toss-up. So yes, but thank you for being on with us today. And Gail will be back momentarily to see what's going on. And maybe I'll have to leave and come back in. I'm not sure. But let's see. Hi, Colin.
Hey, Tiffany. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I'm not Gail who's made a quick costume change or anything.
Quick change.
I think there were some gremlins in the machine there. So hopefully Gail will be able to, she's just rebooting, restarting, and she'll be back with us presently. But
perfect.
For my benefit, Tiffany, I'm curious to understand the work that you do, the people that you do it with and for, and can you tell me a little bit about that while we're waiting?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, I do keynote speaking, clarity coaching, and strategy primarily for entrepreneurs and leaders. So, I help them get clear on who they are, what they stand for, how they want to show up in the world and in their work. And a lot of that over the years has transitioned into my latest company, which is the Morning Shift Co., where I help you prioritize space for your becoming. So, actually doing the personal growth, self-discovery work that is ultimately necessary to stay in alignment with your vision and how you show up in the world, and keep you in a consistent practice around your mental and emotional sustainability, which I think is the key to staying on your vision, especially in the world of entrepreneurship when we're constantly creating and growing and evolving. And I know that many of you probably agree and probably have talked about this through the conversation this week, but I think that entrepreneurship is like therapy to some degree. Like all of your stuff comes up for you as you are building and growing. And so my job is to help you stay in alignment with that and evolve and step into your becoming without the fear and the doubt and all the things that plague us and hold us back from our greatness.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So this idea of being anchored in your core, the thing that drives you, the purpose that you're on this planet to realize and to achieve, right? That is a wonderful piece and so critical. But it does, I loved how you said it evolves, because we evolve, it evolves. We're all a work in progress, and things change, don't they, Tiffany? You know, they don't ever
They do.
stay
They
static.
do. And they change a lot. So in the beginning of my career, I worked with a lot of startup entrepreneurs, but then I really started focusing on the transitioning entrepreneur, the one that's been in business for, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years, but they're going through a transition because they have evolved. And that becomes even more difficult to gain the clarity because you get really stuck in what you've been doing and you feel really anchored in that truth that you lived. And so that identity shift is so hard for many of us to overcome and to step into whatever that new phase that we're trying to enter. And so it's been, and that's the same story for me. So I am just, one individual that has gone through it, which is why I probably feel so passionate about helping others do the same, because I know what it feels like to be very critical of yourself as you evolve, because you have a hard time actually letting go. And so as we begin to kind of peel back those layers of what no longer matters, and we can step into that new place of what matters to us now, what's important, how do we want to show up in the world now, then we can release some of the shame and the guilt that's also associated with the change and the shifting that occurs. So a lot of that encompasses my work.
Wonderful. And listen, I would love, I'm encroaching on Gail's time here. I get it. But I would love to hear your story, those struggles that you alluded to there. What was that like for you, Tiffany? What's your story?
Oh, what's my story? I mean, it's like, how long do we really have? No, but a story that is obviously near and dear to my heart that really was the catalyst for me stepping into the work that I do today is back in 2014 when I launched my coaching and consulting company. About 3 months later, I found out that I was pregnant. And so that is kind of a wrench in when you're just starting a business from scratch and you're wondering like, okay, so now I am literally birthing 2 babies at the same time. But like powerful women, we kind of go through it and we continue and we persevere on. But in my second trimester, I began to face some very difficult complications that threatened the life of both my unborn child and myself at the time. And so it was this critical moment in time that I realized how often we continue to push and strive and need to go because we're trying to create and rarely hold space for ourselves. And although I made it through that particular complications and did overcome them and had my beautiful daughter at 37 weeks, I then started to experience postpartum depression about 6 months later. And so it was another reminder about the pushing and the grinding and the hustling that we tend to do and not holding the space for the transitions that we go through in life. And so at that moment, I was experiencing not only a shift in my body and my mentality and my emotions, but also I saw that there was something changing in my business, and I didn't really know how to make that transition clearly because of all the things that I was experiencing internally. And so after doing some of that deeper inner work on myself, working with a mentor who really challenged me to hold space for all that I had been through and all that I was experiencing and allowing those new visions to come through, I realized that that was such a big part of the work that I was also here to do, is help people overcome those moments where they don't feel clear in their vision, when they don't feel clear in their own humanness and how those things intersect. And so that was really a moment of truth for me that I can honestly say was a catalyst for all the things that I do now.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Isn't it amazing when we see? I've got a quote at the bottom of my email signature. It's a Seth Godin quote, and it says, marketing, I'm a marketing coach, by the way, right? So marketing is the generous act of helping others become who they seek to become, right? And so this idea of really going out in service to prevent others from going through the same pains that you've been through, it's
Yes,
so powerful,
yes.
isn't it? It's so powerful.
It is. And, I was doing clarity work prior to, but it was all very strategic, and going through that more emotional and mental process really allowed for me to see what individuals are really going through when they think it's
Yeah,
only strategy, and when they think
yeah.
it's just, I just need the best next marketing plan that I need to do. But really there's something deeper that's lying underneath that we have to peel back and find in order for us to be able to do the marketing and to be able to do the strategies that we know are true and that we need to, do to accomplish the growth of our business. But usually it lies somewhere underneath. And so I think going through it personally definitely helps me have a more empathy and understanding of what people are processing as they are doing that becoming work, and that as they are growing into whatever that vision is that they have in there, what I call the vision that you have in your or that you see in your mind and that you hold in your heart, and how you're able to really allow yourself to be fully present for what that looks like and all the work that's encompasses from the inside out.
Absolutely. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. It's really interesting to hear, and thank you so much for sharing. So in terms
Yes.
of the work that you do in helping these guys to get fixed on that vision, that goal, that drive, that why, what does that look like, Tiffany? I'm curious. I need to know.
Yeah. When I'm doing like private coaching, it looks like peeling back the layers of who they think they are versus, or who they think they are, who they've been told to be, and then who they really are here to be, and what they want. And so everyone is very different.
Mm,
But going through, probably even starting back, I'm not a therapist though, but I can start seeing the patterns that occur from very early on. So I do walk my clients back through some of those stories that they might have created or that they've told themselves from a very young age that is probably showing up in some aspect of how they show up in the world. And so that initial awareness, I think, is really key. And so a lot of what I do is wrapped around conscious living and conscious leading. So consciousness is the state of being aware. And so we have to first be aware of what we are dealing with in order to actually, tackle it head on. If we're not aware, then it just stays lied underneath, and we're just trying to cover it with a plethora of things. So really getting that clarity around who they are, what they want, what they stand for, what actually matters in today's time, and then curating the vision, the work, the business that might cater to where they are right now. And the Morning Shift Company, I do a lot of just helping people prioritize the space even. So even outside of doing maybe some of these deeper level thought work and clarity work, is actually taking the time to do the work, which so many of us are like, I don't have any time. I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to do all these things that can actually allow for us to become more clear in the
mm,
process.
mm.
We claim as, it's not worth our time, when in reality, if we don't have time to do that, then what are we actually doing? So a part of it is asking the right questions. And then the other is like really teaching and cultivating this space that we should hold for ourselves in order to find out the truths and let them come through.
Isn't it interesting you say about people with excuses, right? I don't have time for this. I don't have time to meditate and all of that stuff. I remember I was reading a book and it was saying if you say you don't have time to do 20 minutes of meditation in a day, then that's a surefire sign that you actually need to do 40 minutes that day.
Yes.
You know, and it's
You
like
need to do an
it's so
hour,
true.
maybe
Yeah,
3.
yeah. It's so true, isn't it? It's so true. But like all of us, right? We're all I say this a lot. We're all a work in progress, and so there's good and bad days with all of that. But as long as you're on the journey and doing it and committing your time, energy, and attention to it, that's
Yes, and I believe that it's all a practice. And so what I'm constantly telling my clients and my members of the morning shift is to remember the practice. And there are going to be the days that you totally feel off kilter. There are going to be the days that you are questioning everything because you are continuously evolving. Like that is just the truth. Like we live a life of endless transitions. And I was giving a presentation actually several times this week, and I talked about the fact that we are always saying like, this week is really crazy, but next week is going to be better, or next month is going to be a lot better. So I'm just like waiting to put off, or I'm putting off these habits that I've curated and the behavioral actions that I take for the time that it's all going to calm down. But life is actually never going to be really, there's more moments of like calm versus life is calm. And there's moments of chaos. Like chaos is like our natural state, especially as humans in the Western world, like chaos is our natural state. So we have to own that reality that there's always going to be something. There's always going to be a level of ups and downs or something in life that's just going to trip us up. But if we develop a consistent practice within ourselves, a consistent groundedness of who we are and what we do and how we think, and really are aware of this within ourselves, when those bumps come, because they will come, we're able to actually keep ourselves grounded in those moments and not just fall over because we're not prepared for the bumps in the road.
Beautiful. I remember I had a business that was really successful and it went completely bust, right? It exploded and I lost everything. It was quite a difficult time. And I remember talking to my priest at the time, the rector, and saying, oh, maybe when the dust settles, I'll do this. And when the dust settles, I'll do that. And she said to me, Colin, the dust never settles. And it's so true, isn't it? It's so true.
It never settles like that. Yeah. It's always dusty.
Yeah.
And we live in a constant dusty place. And I think we're always like, we have cognitive dissonance around the fact that our lives maybe will never feel like completely settled. There are moments of settled though. And I don't want to say that to say like your life is always going to be a cluster. No, like that's not the case at all. I think that if we learn to understand the reality of how we live and how life throws these curveballs, and we just incorporate that into that is life. And we do the necessary mental and emotional, physical work to allow for that to be, but never have to lose ourselves in the process, that's reaching a whole different level of our existence as humans and understanding of just how we're here and why we're here on this earth at this particular time and day and age. I think we would feel a lot less stressed. Here in the US, 75% of adults are stressed out. Like that is a stat. 75% have reported that they are stressed out. And then half of them say that they have become more stressed in the last year. So even identifying that they have been stressed, the stress level just compounds. And so how do we move out of these very stressful states when everything feels so stressful? And kind of reclaim our sanity in the process and reclaim our power and our purpose and allow ourselves to just navigate as it is, but do the necessary work to not feel it so hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so that leads us beautifully to what you're going to talk to us about today. The kind of, are you going to share with us the kind of shifts? Are you going to talk around those, or how do you want to play?
Sure. So yeah. I don't know, is Gail feeding you like some questions now?
No, I'm not getting anything. I've literally I've come in cold and I just
You're
looked at
just
the
like, I'm
talk
just
on
going to
the,
go with it. And I think I
just
know a
looked on
little
the
bit, so
schedule.
let's talk about
Listen,
it.
Tiffany,
Beautiful.
I'm loving having a chat with you. Any opportunity for a conversation is a joy in my
Beautiful.
book. So
I'm here for it. I'm present. So I
it's
stay rolling with
wonderful,
it. Yes, we can
wonderful,
definitely
wonderful,
talk about the
wonderful.
5 shifts.
So, but I am curious because as you were chatting, then I did have a sneaky look at the schedule page, and I'm curious to know what these 5 things that we can do to really get our head together in the mornings are. That I would be wonderful if you want to take that away and feed
Yes,
those to
yes.
us. That'd be great. And I will
So
chirp in with questions if that's okay.
yeah, any questions, anything that comes up, I'm totally here for it. But yes,
Wonderful.
so there are 5 shifts. So I call this the morning shift method, and it's mindset, motivation, meditation, movement, and mastery. So mindset, motivation, meditation, movement, and mastery. And so with each one of these pillars, it is really identifying and finding the activities that we can do within our practice or within our morning routines or morning rituals that hold space for those particular things. So just as a caveat, you don't have to hold space for each of the 5 pillars in one single morning. I mean, if you do, that is awesome. I like to try, but really identifying what they mean. So as far as a mindset goes, we all know and probably can agree that mindset is everything, right? If our mind's not in it, then it's hard to actually show up for what we're here to do and do the work. So when it comes to mindset, though, without it being this kind of vague idea like, okay, I'm going to focus on my mindset. That's cool. Like, what does that even mean? Well, I like to look at it from a place of understanding your growth mindset, right? So really focusing on the growth mindsets and what areas that we need to do that. So if we don't know the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, I don't know if you read the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. Maybe anybody? No? Okay. So she basically defines 2 types of mindsets that we all have, which is one is fixed and one is growth. So the fixed mindset is basically saying, in the most layman terms, it is what it is. It's always been this way. It's always going to be this way. No matter how much I do or what I try, nothing's ever going to change. It just is what it is. So very fixed in our mentalities around that particular mindset. A growth mindset, on the other hand, is understanding that life is an endless stream of transitions and lessons. So what can I learn from this experience that I am met with? Though I've hit maybe a proverbial rock bottom, that I know so many of us have that story that it just really took us out. What is that here to teach me in this moment? How can I take the mindset that I might have previously had that could have been fixed in this area and decide that I can use my resources and that there are people that can support me and that I can actually overcome and change this mentality that I have to being something more? So within that pillar, it's identifying what type of mindset you need to maybe shift or change or look into right now. So we have money mindset, entrepreneurial mindset, relationship mindset, self-love mindset. These are all mindsets that we have created, since we were little, these schemas, these paradigms, these programmings that we have pretty much set into us, that in order for us to live a more fulfilling life, we have to identify what we think is true and then reclarify what is actually true and then have a better understanding of that bridge that we're trying to
I
cross.
like that. I liked how you said about reclarifying what is actually true versus what we think is true, because that we can be almost have goggles on and not see the world in the way that it actually is, right?
Yes, so often. I mean, I remember the first time that I really embarked on my personal growth journey. I was 24 and I had just become an entrepreneur. And I had lived most of my childhood, teenage years, my early 20s, almost in depression. Depression was kind of my natural state. Everything was very woe is me. Life sucks. Why am I being punished for this? Why is this happening? This is always happening to me. And that was really my lens until I decided one day, literally, that I was just tired of feeling the way that I was feeling. I was tired of the relationships that I was attracting to me. I was tired of just so many things and just kind of fed up. And I really wanted to be happy. And we know, well, now that I've done a lot more inner work, I know that happiness can be fleeting. So fulfillment is what we're actually searching for. But in that particular time, I just wanted to be happy. I just wanted to wake up happy and not wake up sad and feeling like life is over before it ever even began, before I ever even took a step out of the bed. And I just got really fixated on this idea of happiness and what did that look like? And kind of like at the time, she wasn't really around, but like, what's her name? Marie Kondo? The one
yeah,
who,
the tidiness lady. Yeah,
yes,
that does all the
tidy,
fancy
right? The
folding
joy
with
of
the
tidying up.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So kind of that same concept. What brings me joy, I kind of did with my life. What brings me happiness? Who is in my life that's bringing me happiness, and who is probably causing me more pain or more harm? And I did that with almost every single aspect of my life. And I had to let people go. I had to let experiences go. I had to let things that I was doing, foods that I were eating, like any of those things, I had to like refocus on what actually mattered in that time and what was bringing me happiness. So I had to change my mindset around what life was actually like, and that a lot of those things I did have control of. You don't have control over everything, but really re-gearing the brain for what you do have control over and how you can show up and how you can change your reactions, right? And so that was a really big shift for me. So that's what I teach around mindset, is really identifying what you believe to be true, what has maybe been true your whole life, but what is actually true for you in these different areas. So that's mindset. Motivation. When it comes to motivation, we know that motivation, also like happiness, can be fleeting. So it comes, this is why we watch the videos. This is why we go to live events. This is why we repost memes or save memes in our phone, because we're trying to get these jolts of motivation to stay up in the game of life, which we know is already dusty, which we know is sometimes chaotic, and we're trying to keep up with it. So in this motivating pillar, I also throw in inspiration, which is really the place that I want to begin at. And I chose motivation because I like alliteration. So in order to make this method have straight up alliteration, I had to start with motivation first.
Nice.
But
I like it.
Inspiration is really the key, because being inspired is really, it's almost like breathing in life to yourself. Inspired is also like in spirit. So you being truly connected to who you are and what causes those acts of inspiration. And I believe, nature inspires me. Just sitting with myself inspires me. Sometimes coloring and painting draws inspiration. And there are so many humans and people that also inspire us. So if we really lived an inspired life and decided to take inspired action, that would keep us motivated. So if we bring that awareness to life of what inspires me and then do things every day that keeps us inspired, we will be more likely to stay motivated. The third is, I don't know if you want to talk before I move to the next.
Oh, no, it's fine. I'm just saying, wonderful. You carry on. This is great. I love it.
The third is meditation. And so meditation really did change my life. And probably anyone who like meditates regularly would agree with that statement. And people who don't understand, because you're just like, I don't see how just sitting here and maybe breathing is actually doing anything for me. And I was one of those people. So before really experiencing the complicated pregnancy and going through postpartum depression, I had a morning routine. Like everyone, we all have read the articles and watched the videos on like the most successful people have morning routines. And so you too are like, all right, I'm going to do that. I'm going to read for 30 minutes a day. I'm going to listen to some kind of personal growth audio or something. I'm going to work out. Like we all know the standard things that make up a successful morning. And I had that. However, it was just something on my to-do list. Like I would listen to meditations, like, a 5-minute guided meditation. And I would kind of be there like, is this over yet? Like I have things to do. I need to hurry up. I need to check meditation off my to-do list. And when we get into that mentality of reading for a to-do list, of meditating for a to-do list, doing anything for the to-do list, we abstract the meaning. So we take away the meaning and the obvious lessons that can be learned in that moment because we're just trying to check it off. I believe that we live obviously in a very hyper-productive society, and we make productivity the root of everything that we do. And so when I'm teaching morning practices and creating or curating a consciously crafted morning routine, it's not to be hyper-productive. It's actually not to get a whole bunch of work done before the day ever even gets started. It's to hold the space for the meaning that is necessary in your life so that your cup can be full before you start
Oh,
pouring yourself out to a whole bunch
love
of other
that.
humans, before you
Love
show up for the client, so that you can actively show up positively for your kids, for your spouse, for all those individuals that need you. And that was true for me. And so it was when I actually began meditating. It was that mentor when I was going through postpartum who was like, she actually said to me, like, what do you do in the morning? Like, what the hell do you actually do in the morning? I'm like, I don't understand. I don't know what you mean. Like, I wake up, I have a kid, she's probably crying. I didn't sleep all night long. I got to jump on a call. I got clients. I got videos to make. I got a course to produce. I got to talk. I got to get, like, it's just always something. And she's like, that's the problem. Because actually, in this particular time, have you ever even reflected on the last year and a half of everything that you experience, the trauma that you experience, being told that you're going to lose your child by 24 weeks, that you might lose your life in the process, but then overcoming that and then having a newborn, continuing to grow your business, and then going through the mental and emotional instability within yourself during this, postpartum period. And I'm like, actually, no, I didn't hold space for that, because I too believe that it was important for me to push through, keep going, keep grinding, because I had things to achieve and things to accomplish. And she's like, we are going to meditate. Like, that is what we are going to do. And I'm like, I've tried to meditate. It doesn't work. My mind can't slow down. I keep thinking. If the goal is to not think, it's not working. And she actually introduced me into a blood meditation, which always sounds weird when I say it out loud, because it sounds like
I've never heard of that. Yeah, what is that?
But it's not. So blood meditation is actually kind of getting in tuned with the flow of your blood. So our blood is constantly flowing through our veins. It's something that just happens that we don't really think about too often, just as we breathe, right? We don't think about the breath that I need to take next in order to keep living. It just happens. So I got really hyper focused on like trying to visualize the blood flowing through my veins. And when you get that hyper focus, there's nothing else you can actually think about. And so that's what's powerful about either tuning into something or being guided by something, so that you're just focused on that. And that allows those thoughts that will still come up for you to pass freely. And I think what's important is that we're never going to stop thinking. Like, that is not the name of the game. It's to allow those thoughts to pass without placing judgment on it, without over analyzing them, and just being present in this moment. Again, coming back to what is real and what we are making up. What are we harping on from the past? What are we anxious about in the future? And how can we, in this moment, actually realize that we're safe? And that's something else that we are constantly struggling with, this feeling of being safe and supported and secure, which is why we keep up this anxiety. But that's a whole nother conversation. So I'm moving on outside of meditation. So meditation is a really vital pillar for clarity and intuitive guidance, like really allowing yourself to show up for you, and listening is life-changing all by itself. Number 4 is movement. And movement is not just about like working out or having some stringent movement routine that allows for you to hit the goals that you're trying to hit, maybe in your body, but really allowing yourself to move, to be in tune with your body. So just any kind of yoga is a really good example of like doing movement that is intentional and that you are really connecting to what is happening within your body. So I would just say, just moving your arms like out of nowhere, right? Just moving your neck out of nowhere, like allowing yourself to actually move your limbs, because we are usually sitting. So often are we sitting and working and just, going away at everything, that we don't give our legs an opportunity to move. We don't actually get in touch with our fingers and what they're capable of doing, but allowing this movement to occur where you're getting out of your mind and into your body. And lastly is mastery. And so the mastery component is really allowing yourself to see the big vision of what you're here to master, but also the little things that you're working to master every day, every week, every month, every quarter. And so my suggestion here is to kind of think big and then rein it in, and then decide what those activities are, maybe skill-based or whatever that might be, to create that time for you to continue to grow that state of mastery every single day.
So can I ask a quick question, Tiffany?
Yes.
I'm a bit like a child sometimes. I have a natural curiosity for things and I love to learn. And so when you talk about mastery, is that like a period of time in the morning or the day to learn, to grow, to
Mhm.
develop, to work
Yes.
on something? Is that what that means?
Yes, yes, to advance your learning and the actual doing of that skill. So sometimes we're in seasons of learning, and then we need to be in seasons of doing and like taking deliberate action around that thing. So being a speaker, I'm always looking to advance the way that I show up to speak, maybe my storytelling, maybe, so I might take a course on it and maybe I'll put that into my morning practice, but then I might actually start showing up and telling those stories out loud and leaving some time for me to just do it. I might not have a talk coming up, but I'm going to still do it so that I can master what that looks like the next time that speaking engagement arises. So doing things like that. So from learning to actual doing, conceptualizing it and putting it into motion.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. Because that's kind of the evolutionary process that we're all on as entrepreneurs that you talked about at the beginning, isn't it? It's feeding into that so that as you grow and develop, you grow and develop, right?
Yes, which to me is what makes life so beautiful. Like
Mm,
when I've decided that growth, like my only purpose is really to expand and understand, it takes so much pressure off to be these weird levels of
yeah,
success that
yeah.
we convince ourselves is the end game, is the goal, when in reality, I believe at least that we are here to learn a series of lessons and then help others overcome their struggles and their lessons and give back to the world and contribute. So the more that we're able, and this is why I'm really passionate about this particular work, is because I believe that when we hold this space, we hold space for our humanity. And when we hold space for our humanity, we're able to hold space for humanity. And so a lot of this is allowing ourselves to get over the mental turmoil and the mental struggles and the emotional turmoil and struggles that we have, so that we can actually show up how we need to show up for ourselves and obviously those closest to us, but then extend that lens out to humanity and the planet, and how are we actually creating a positive ripple effect in the world around us. And I know that it starts with us.
Mm. Oh, that is wonderful, wonderful. I was listening to something interesting today. It was a talk by a guy called Alan Watts. He was a like relatively modern day philosopher, and he was talking about the concepts of I and the human. You talk about humanity, other people, serving other people, and something kind of came to me as I was driving back from a meeting this morning. Is this sense of I am not I. It's I
Mm-hmm.
and you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you kind of have that sense of belonging to a bigger whole, there's like power in that, isn't there, around wanting the best for I and wanting the best for you. This
Yes.
energy around really, really playing with that sense of service, of compassion. I don't know, I'm just sharing an
Yeah,
experience I
no,
was
I
having this
totally,
morning,
I
right?
mean, I agree 100%. I have a saying that you have a responsibility to humanity and the planet to connect, grow, and become the best version of yourself. So when we are identifying, when everyone is talking about, now it's going to be 2020, now be the best version of who you're here to be, the question is why? Why are you here to be the best version? What does that actually look like? And what is that ripple effect that it is created by you being? Personal growth isn't just personal. To me, it's collective. So when I think about this understanding of growth and growing and becoming and acknowledging all the things that we've been through, all the struggles, all the ups and downs, usually are there to teach us such powerful lessons, and we'll miss it if we aren't present and we're not conscious
Mm,
about what they look like, which is why I teach the way that I do, so that you're not trying to actively avoid the chaos and actively avoid the dust, but you're actually being in tuned with the chaos and in tuned with the dust, so that you know what it was showing to you, so that you show up better the next day, that you show up better the next year. And sometimes we go through things that isn't going to show face of why you went through them for years to come. When I was going through all that stuff 5 years ago with the complications of the pregnancy and the
yeah.
postpartum, I had no idea that I would be doing the work that I do today. None whatsoever. Maybe if I didn't, I would be on this summit talking about a completely different topic than I am today, right now, and have become so grounded in who I am personally and my purpose on this planet and what I am here to share or teach or to collaborate with others who might have a similar message. I had to allow for that. And when I look back and I read through journals and things that I was experiencing, it's crazy to see how in alignment those teachings had to be, how I had to hit those moments of what felt like rock bottom to get to this place of understanding. And again, when we can have that kind of clarity about what life is here to teach us, it doesn't feel so heavy. There's not so much pressure. We can actually learn, thrive, and grow in ways that we've never imagined, and create new versions and new paradigms of what success actually looks like for us. So yeah, I don't know. You might hear some crazy construction going on. I'm sorry.
All part of the fun. That's all part of the fun.
Right outside my building.
All part of the fun of live streaming, hey?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, Tiffany, I love the idea of the pillars. You talked the mindset, motivation, meditation, movement, and mastery. It seems like there's a lot of stuff there, isn't there? And what you don't want to do is have a checklist approach to the way that you structure your routine, your morning, your habits, all of that kind of stuff. So how do you kind of practically approach that? How do you implement this on a practical level? Does that make sense?
So for me, when I first started creating a practice, it was to get out of the mindset of everything having to be productive. And that's always hard when I'm pitching corporations about bringing this work into their establishments, because everything needs to be productive centered. And I believe, though, that by doing this meaningful work, and it makes you more productive on the back end. Like, productivity is what actually ends up occurring. It just may not be in the way that you think about it, mentally. So first and foremost, it is always mindset. It's reframing how we think things are supposed to be and deciding what is meaningful to us. I feel like, what is life without meaning? So reconnecting to what we need right now. So I would say the first thing is to ask yourself, what do you need? And rarely do we do that and sit with it. So what do I need, right? I ask myself every day. That's actually, I might create a practice for a particular season of my life. And then I ask myself, what do I need? And then I make that priority, even though I have the activities that I want to do, I make what I need that particular day priority. And so myself might say, you need water. You need to be hydrated. You need to drink more water right now. So I'm like, okay, let me make sure that I'm consciously doing that because that's what I need. Or I might need more sleep. So I don't force myself to wake up because I have a morning practice or a morning routine. So I'm going to wake up at 5:30 every day, no matter what. I ask myself what I need, and I might need more sleep. And that becomes a part of my practice. And so it's rethinking what we view routines and rituals in general, and just completely redefining what that looks. At least that's my goal. My goal is to redefine and re-revolutionize how we think about morning practices and what we need for our own personal mental and emotional well-being, and starting from that place. And so in 2017, I came so excited about what I was able to do for myself that I created a course called the Morning Shift course. And it was to help you identify what it is that you actually need and what you want, what you're craving, all the questions that we usually have a hard time. Being a coach, that was easy for me to do, to carve out the necessary questions needed so that you could create a practice that was unique to you, your vision, and how you're looking to grow. Because there's so many articles. Put in morning routine on YouTube. I mean, there's tons of videos, and we get really caught up in other people's routines and other people's way of living and other people's way of needing to show up in the world, when we really have to identify what is it that we actually need, and then go and create from that place of understanding.
Oh, I love that. I love that, because it can feel overwhelming in itself, can't it? It does feel like a weight pushing down on your shoulders when you have, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to do this. And it becomes a checklist in and of itself, doesn't it?
Yes.
And
yes.
So I loved how you prefaced it with, what do I need? And that takes priority, because, I had a client the other day, and he had a bit of flu, a bit of cold, and he was under the weather, and then he was beating himself up because he hadn't done the work that day. And it was like, man, just love yourself for who you are in this moment, and embrace that, because that's what you need right now, is to put your feet up, to drink plenty of fluids, and take the time in this place
And just be.
and being, yeah. And
Be.
yeah, and
We don't
that's
have to always be
okay.
human doings. We could actually be
Yeah.
human beings sometimes.
Yeah, I love that, because we do get caught up, don't we? We've got to drive, and for somebody to say it's okay for you to just be, focus on that.
Everything will be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
All the work, it will still be there. Those emails, they will still be there. People will still be needing and wanting things from you. That never ends. So if we don't take and hold the space for ourselves in these moments, then what are we actually doing? Like, how are we actually allowing ourselves to process, like really process what we're experiencing? I feel like because we're constantly going all the time, like we lose sight on what life is or what life is about in general, which is why so many people are stressed out, which is why so many people, no matter how much money you have, you can still be depressed. You can still feel unfulfilled. You are still questioning your purpose. All of these things are happening. So money doesn't solve the problems. And I think we have convinced ourselves that money will solve everything. And that is not true. I know a lot of people with a lot of money, and they can still be just as miserable as you with nothing. Like, so we have to get out of this mentality that that is what success is, and that is what we're all striving for these hyper productive opportunities and moments, and reconnect to our beingness, reconnect to the meaning, reconnect to who we are, what matters, how we want to show up in the world, and then create the practice every single day to show up more like that. And again, to reiterate, it is a practice. So I have a membership, a mastermind membership that I hold them accountable every Monday. So every Monday at 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., I help them do their practice in community. And that's a key that I think a lot of people miss out on, as well as when it comes to our own personal routines and our own personal practice, is that we do it by ourselves. And we can become very lonely. Most of us are lonely, especially entrepreneurs, because we're just in the midst of our work all the time. And it feels like it's just only us against the world. And when you add community to that level of vulnerability and openness and that support, everything shifts. And so after I created the course, I started doing what I call morning shift sessions at my co-working space. And I would do it where they can come in, do their practice, or I would start with a meditation. So I would guide them in meditation, come up with a centering thought for that day, have them take about 30 minutes to do whatever fills their cup. So whatever their personal shift time is, whatever the routines that they want to do, they can do it. And then they would come back and be in community around that centering thought. And when you're able to listen to what people are experiencing and what they're going through and how they think about the thought versus how you thought about that particular idea, there's so much growth happens just in that alone. And so that was really the spark for me this year, after doing it for 2 years and seeing all that was becoming out of the people who would join me every single week, to be like, I think this is not just a program or just like a course that I have and just these sessions that I have, but how can I turn this into a company? How can I turn this into like an actual movement, a philosophy of understanding that kind of piggybacks off of something that's already there. So many people already talk about morning routines and practices. So many people talk about these different things like meditation and mindfulness, but how can we put them all together and really create a necessary space for us to be and become? And that has just been my driving force that I'm just so excited and so passionate about. So thank you for letting me come on here and share this with you.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. So I'm actually really, really glad that Gail had technical difficulties and I was able to jump in, because it's been a joy chatting to you today, Tiffany. It really has. And
so nice to meet you.
Just before we kind of finish up, how do people find out more about Tiffany, find out more about the 5 pillars that we've talked about today, the routine and everything that's going on with you?
So there's a few places. The morningshift.co is where you can find out about this whole philosophy of the morning shift. If you want to, I did a workshop, a masterclass recently, and I have the replay available if you guys want to check it out. And that's at the morning shift, or themorningshift.co
Oh yeah, got that one.
/5 shifts replay. So someone might have to type that out. 5 shifts replay, and you can watch that whole masterclass that helps you stop pouring from an empty cup. And I dive into some of the topics that we discussed here today. And then if you just want to learn about me and all the work that I've done and all that I do, you can go to livewithtiffany.com. And that's where you can just learn about me personally.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And is 5 spelt, or is 5 written out as a word?
5 number
5. 5 number 5. 5 shifts replay. Beautiful.
Yes.
5 shifts replay. Awesome. I'm just dropping them into the comments there as we chat. Tiffany, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. I feel privileged that I got to step in and talk to you today. So thank you so much for sharing your journey, your struggle, and your wisdom with us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much, Tiffany. Appreciate you so much. And like I say, it's been an absolute joy and a pleasure.
Yes,
I'm going to be watching the 5 shift replay later tonight. So
awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry, Gail, that you that you couldn't be on.
Gail, I'm not sorry. I love you and everything, but I'm not sorry, because I've had a wonderful time with Tiffany here today. So yes, guys, that is the final talk in our Entrepreneur Hotline Summit. Gail, with a bit of luck, Gail, Laurie, and I will be on again shortly for the hosts session to wrap up the week. It's been wonderful sharing entrepreneurial wisdom and talking with you guys about the journey of entrepreneurship. So we hope you've enjoyed it. Check out the replays, and we'll see you all again soon. Thank you so much.